is the unboxing of the Unifi Aggression Pro 28 port switch. In total, this is actually a 32 port switch, but you do get 28 ports of 10 gig SFP plus ports and 4 25 gig SFP 28 ports. These obviously can be auto negotiated down to different speeds, so 10 and 1 gig, 1, 10 and 25 gig respectively. But the key thing about these is you can't use 1, 10 and 25 in the 4. If you choose 25, you have to stay with 25, for example. So you can't actually auto negotiate at different speeds with these 4 ports. That's something to be aware of, and it talks about that in more detail on the specifications. What else is you need to make sure you're aware of is you do need to make sure your controller version, I believe it is running 6.1.7, I think it is. So you need to make sure you check the controller version before as well. I've been running the Aggression before this, so I wanted to upgrade to more 10 gig ports. So I can do a review of that later. In the box it says it comes with Aggression Pro, the box device itself, rack mount hardware kit, so that's to put it in a rack. Power cord, so because I got the EU model, it will come with an EU power cord as well, and they sent me a UK one in the box. Power unified DAC cable, so I'm interested to see what that looks like. I've got one already, I think it's the same, but anyway. And then rubber feet if you want to use it desktop mount. So that's the front of the box, so touchscreen, 28 ports, and then the additional 4 over here. So let's just go around it. I have opened this already. Let's just see anything else. Right. Okay, so we can open it up. Let's have a look at the accessories. Ooh, it's actually quite nice. It's braided, so braided, a bit annoying. The UK one isn't, but anyway, that I got braided European Power Lead. It's also slightly different in the end, because you'll see actually on the Unifi Aggression Pro, it's actually sort of locks in place. It's got a little lock on the left hand side to lock the C13 connector in the kettle lead. Okay, yeah, so this is a bit different. This looks like a longer cable. It's nice to actually have one of those for once. Saves about 30 quid. So that's 10 gig DAC cable, SFP plus. It's about a meter, it looks like. But that's good because I actually need another one, so convenient. Unifi definitely don't ever really sell to much data center people, because this is slightly awkward to do which you're deploying a lot of these, but I don't mind because it's for home use. And I'm going to try and just put this down and do it quickly. Okay. So you've got your cage nuts, cage bolts, and then your just screws to sit on the sort of cage. The rack mounting gear that sits on the side, which is these 2 bits. So yeah, beautiful layout, but and it's almost Apple-like, but yeah, not really convenient if you're deploying lots of them. But again, it looks nice. So there you go. And then there is also some documentation here in English, thank God. So that's the EU model. So there you go. If you are interested in reading that. Safety notification, stuff like that, fire hazard, 50, oh that's quite important, 20mm of clearance at the back, because it has got fans on this model. It's not like the Aggression, which is fanless. So I have opened this already, which normally it comes with a sort of sheet around it, sort of like a protection. Yeah. So I thought I would just get it out and go over it. So that's the 1.3 inch touchscreen. If you use Unifi products, you'll be familiar with that as well. Here's the 28 port of SFP plus connectivity, and then there's the 4 25 gigabit auto negotiable ports, so you can use them 10, aggregate, so on. So it's really cool. This is the intake for the fans as well, the cooling, little reset button there. So other than that, it's actually quite big. So the Aggression only goes up to about there. So it's actually quite short. So this is a lot deeper. This is more like a proper enterprise switch. This is if you want to use Unifi's. It's not a redundant power supply. It's a separate power supply. So there is a YouTuber that called it a redundant power supply, a UPS. It's not. It's just it gives you a second power supply, which is also smart, so it can tell you when it's switched to it and so on. DC power in, basically. And there's your 4 fans at the back. I am going to open this up as well so you can have a look. There's that locking connector I was talking about. This does come sealed as well. Sorry, a little tab on the top, just like a little blocking thing to protect it in transport, sort of black blocking thing like that goes on the SFP connectors. So if you're not aware, I'm just going to go over it. You can use, with SFPs, you can use DAT cables, so standard DAT cables like that, click and lock in, or you can actually use, which is why this is quite special, adapters to actually RJ45, so you can actually get Ethernet out of it. So if you are looking to run 10 gig Ethernet, for example, and you are plugging in servers and things like that, you don't need all RJ45, then this is quite a nice setup, because for example the XG only had 16 ports total, which I thought was too little, especially the price tag of it. So this giving you 32 usable ports is really, really good. So if you're not aware as well, Unifi is actually launching their 2.5 gig switches in future very soon as well, and they've got 25 gig uplinks, so they'll take advantage of these. So anything I'm buying now is basically to deal with 25 gig and 2.5 gig later, because when you're looking at Wi-Fi 6, even though they're ABs they just launched aren't 2.5 gig, some of the later ones gonna be. So you really want to be future-proofing your network gear. 2.5 at 5 gig and 10 gig is the future anyway, with connectivity, because you can run 5 gig, 2.5 gig on standard Cat 5e and Cat 6 cable in existing infrastructure. So you've got 100 meters of that, so you don't actually need to upgrade your infrastructure cable to run that as well, which is quite important. So I'm going to actually open this up now as well. I have got a screwdriver covered in paint somewhere as I've been decorating. So to open it up, it looks like you need to do 1, 2, 3 on the left and 1, 2, 3 on the right. I'm just going to check the back. Yeah, and there's actually 3 on the back as well, so 6, 9 in total. One's got covered with a warranty sticker, but I don't think those are legal anymore, so let's open it up. I'm going to speed this up, I think. So I have taken this off now, taken the screws out now, so I can just literally pull this back, take it off. So this is what the insides look like. That's the first time I've ever looked, so this is quite interesting. So here's your little controller for your touchscreen at the front. Try and get a bit of focus. So this is all your connectivity. So these are your SFP Plus modules, the motherboard there, controller, and there's your DC in. There's your fans. They are using PWM power connectors, standard fan connectors. So it looks like they probably are standard fans that you can change. I think they're probably 40mm fans. There's DC power, DC in from the main power supply, which is sitting there, so don't touch that when you open it up, because it can still have power in it, and especially as I've powered this up already. So that's what your inside looks like, nice and clean, like standard Unifi stuff. but it does look like you can replace stuff if things go wrong, so your power supply and so on. And there is a header there. I don't know what it's doing, but this looks like some expandability. But it's a very simplistic motherboard. So interesting. In case you wanted to have a look. So there you go. I'm going to fire it up now and show you through it. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I should say this earlier on, but if you are using a 1 gig, I know it sounds silly, but if you're getting a 10 gig connection, 10 gig switch, but sometimes you might have older switches, and you're setting this up with older switches to upgrade your network to 10 gig. It's really important to buy an SFP to RJ45 adapter to start with, because it will not auto negotiate 1 gig. That's quite important. You have to force it to use 1 gig, so you won't be able to adopt the switch, if that makes sense. So I had this problem with the Aggression back when I first bought it, because I bought 10 gig when I had 1 gig switches connecting in, because I was going to use 10 gig for the servers and then 1 gig in for the switches, and I couldn't get it to adopt. So just to make you aware, it's great if you got something like the Dream Machine Pro, because that's 10 gig SFP or plus already, so it will just work. But if you haven't and you have to force 1 gig on both ends on the switches, and then it will work fine. But just so you're aware, it will not adopt otherwise. So it's best to get one of these. These are only 12 quid. It's a compatible one. It's made by 10G Tech. I quite just find one on Amazon. Quite good to have, handy to have if you're having need to troubleshoot things, and you haven't got 10 gig connectivity. Something to have. I'll put it back in together and I'll add it in now. This is it starting up now. Just plugging power in. Just going to. I've just plugged it in. Just booting up now. Plugged it into my little mini on my desk, which goes down to main switches downstairs. So if you're not familiar, so this has been adopted already, which is why it's now got a static IP address. It was DHCP before, but you can swipe through, so you can see the gateway, the controller, static IP address, the alias that I've called it. You can also see, so all ports are in use, down, up, uptime, board revision, firmware version. So quite useful stuff. You can actually see activity on the ports. So out of the 32 ports, you can also see. I'm going to lock the focus now. You can see 1 to 4, and you can click from 1. You see it's running at SFP plus at 1 gig. But you can go through stuff. You see it's down, everything else. But you can see the SFP 28 ports, so the 25 gig ports as well. Come out, press the center button, turns it off, and tap to wake, and then you can also see throughput, so what's going through is the uplink, and system utilization, temperature, because it got fans. Fans are spinning, they're quite quiet, as you can hear. Let's get focus again. And then you've also got settings for brightness, color if you care, these sort of things, whatever your preference is, I guess. And then auto, so you can wrap the fans up, for example, if you want to do things like that. So other than that, that's pretty much the overview of the switch, to be honest. I'm going to compare it against the Aggression, normal Aggression, at a later stage. So have a look for that. And I'm also going to go over the software in a second, get connected, and what it looks like in Unifi. So I'm just going to log into Unifi now. So this is my local controller. I'll just log in quickly. And then you can see my switches. You can see dashboard information about it, and you can see one of my switches is not connected, which is my Mini at the moment, as you can see there. And then there's switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. I'll zoom it in a bit. Aggression Pro, PoE, and the G2. So the PoE is my important switch. G2's got my iDRAC and stuff like that, which is not as important, management and so on. So PoE's got access points and so the access points below, and also CCTV on it and stuff. That is my access points 20 and 21. So now if I look at the actual switch, you can see the switch 1, and you can see the IP address is set as 1.30, which is the first switch, my primary switch. So this is my firewall 1, firewall 2. They're actually run the wrong way, which is where the uplink is showing on the second one. So 25 gig, 25 gig is light green, 10 gig is dark green, and sort of a in between color is 1 gig. So you can see the uplink's also got an arrow on it as well. You can see 10 gig connectivity, and then you can see the data that's actually going through these ports as well. And you can also see my NAS there on the end, and you can also see the host in the middle and the firewalls on the left. You can also see temperature, model Aggression Pro. Because it's got fans, you've got a temperature probe. You've also got a fan level within this. It's actually quite quiet, the fans as well, which is quite good. It doesn't make much noise, and it's not ventilated area where it's in. So you can also see memory usage, not much, even though there's 8 ports connected. So that's quite good information. Uplink, you can see the connectivity of the uplink and what's going through it. 100 gig full duplex. 10 gig full duplex, and then the downlinks to the other ports, which are aggregated, so you can see 29 to 30 on that one, 31 to 32. So that's basically what you would see on the switch itself through the controller, and then that allows you to do stuff. Within clients, you can see the down clients, so the virtual machines and stuff that's connected directly. This is where you can actually control the port, so you can control what it's called, the alias of it, what profile it is. So if you wanted it to be on a different VLAN, for example, or have all. So for example, if I click here, you can also change switching, and you can see mirroring, aggression, voice support isolation, stuff like that. You can also change the alias here. You can also change the static IP address here. I wouldn't recommend DHCP for a network, for a switch. You want to manage it. Also tools, and this is where you can open the terminal. So because it's running Linux, you can write things like ifconfig to get information about the switch directly. You can do special commands if you want to control it. So ifconfig now, you find out information directly about the switch. So it's 30, its IP address, and it's also got a loopback address for itself. So it doesn't tell you any information about the additional ports there. It just tells you stuff about the switch. You can see 20% for CPU utilization, only 7% of the memory, because it's quite a strong switch. And then you can see clients within the Unifi controller, topology, dashboard, which I showed earlier, insights, so information, alerts, and things get disconnected. So this is the Aggression Pro in the rack, as you can see. It's got 6 10 gigabit connections, SFP plus direct DAC cables, which go off to different things. So I've got two hosts and an iSCSI, 2 NASes, which use DFS as a data store, and also iSCSI connections to clusters. Also there's 2 aggregated 1 gigabit connections, so you get 2 gigabit going off to this is a 24 port PoE switch, which is just my cameras for my house, and also my access points. And it's all color coded, so orange is cameras, for example. And then this is my sort of low priority switch, so things like you know, like iDRACs and management communications on it. So it runs everything really fast, and it gives me loads of expandability, which is what I'm after. As I'm learning stuff, I want to add more and more things in. The Aggression Pro didn't even give me enough space to do all of this. So I'd have to connect it. I have to connect at 1 gig for all the switches, which, when you're sharing 24 ports of bandwidth, isn't very fast. Can slow things down. It was actually getting issues with DNS entries, and resolving DNS was slowing down and stuff like that. It's actually made a difference switching to this now, because the switching speed's faster and also more bandwidth available. So I really recommend it if you're looking at over the aggression, sorry, and you're looking for something that'll give you expandability in future. I mean, 700 quid for the switch we're looking at now. I mean, I work in as an IT infrastructure manager, with a budget of about £3 million, and we buy extreme switches that are about, I don't know, £8,000 and £4,000 to give this sort of connectivity, and you can get it in a switch that's 700. So we don't even have 25 gig ports on those. They are starting to have them, but it's coming in later. So future expandability is a good place to start, and we're just sort of held out for this. It didn't exist when I bought the Aggression though. So but yeah, if you are looking at it, save a bit more, go for that. And you can add these, start on a PoE, which is what I started on, and then add later, because you can still aggregate and get 2 gig of connectivity. Obviously it's not 10, but it's a good place to expand later. Now I am looking at a 48 port for future as well, because I'm adding more network points to my house as I'm expanding the house. So if you want more videos on the rack, I'll go over that as well. I can do that in a separate video. So thanks for watching.